This is Chapter 2 from the 1978 Childcraft Annual, Mathemagic. Take a number. Do you know the color of number 5? Do you know the shape of a 4? Do you know which number is lucky? We can tell you all that and more. For there's a lore and a magic in numbers, or so people thought long ago. So we'll tell you some things about numbers that you probably didn't know. International Mathemagic Show. 0. 0 stands for nothing. If you have 0 ice cream cones, then you have none at all. It may seem very silly to have a numeral for something that isn't there. But the numeral 0 is really very important. The 0 is a placeholder. It shows how much the other numerals stand for in a number. That's how we know that 10 means 10 and 100 means 100. There has always been nothing, but there hasn't always been a 0. The idea of having a numeral that stands for nothing was probably invented in India. The Arabs, who borrowed the idea and brought it to Europe, called the numeral sifr, which means empty. People in Europe began to use the symbol 0 about 1,000 years ago. They changed its name to 0. We still use the Arab word sifr, but we spell it cipher. And for us, cipher means 0, or any numeral. One is a thing all by itself, but when you put ones together, you get other numbers. You can make every number using ones. You can't do that with any other number. The ancient Greeks were fond of thinking about numbers and playing with numbers. They often thought of numbers as so many dots and spent a lot of time arranging dots in different shapes. They thought of 1 as both a triangle and a square. They also felt that 1 was the only real number because all other numbers were made from it. To the Greeks, 1 was so important they made it their symbol for thinking. We seem to feel that 1 is important too. When we say that someone or something is number 1, we mean that it's the very best. The color of 1 is said to be red, and in astrology, the number 1 belongs to the sign of Aries, the ram. 2. 2 is the first even number, a number that can be broken apart and made into 2 smaller numbers that are exactly the same. Break 2 apart, and you get a 1 and a 1. Long ago, both the Chinese and the Greeks thought of even numbers, 2, 4, 6, and so on, as girl numbers. The odd numbers were boy numbers. The ancient Greeks felt that the number 2 was like someone who couldn't make up his mind about something. We still think of 2 this way. When people say they are of 2 minds about something, they mean they can't decide between 2 choices. In the folklore of many lands, the number 2 stands for opposite things, good and evil, life or death, life or light and darkness. The color of 2 is said to be orange. And in astrology, 2 belongs to the sign of Taurus, the bull. 3. If you think of 3 as 3 dots, you can show it as a triangle. A triangle is a shape with 3 sides and 3 angles or corners. That's how the ancient Greeks thought of 3. The Greeks counted 3, not 1, as the first odd number. An odd number is a number that can't be divided into 2 equal parts. Break a 3 apart and you get a 1 and a 2. The Greeks thought of 3 and all the other odd numbers as boy numbers. The even numbers were all girl numbers. For many people of long ago, 3 was a magical number. It It stood for the three parts of life, beginning, middle, and end. It stood for the three kingdoms of the earth, animal, vegetable, and mineral. And magicians and witches usually worked in groups of three when casting their magic spells. The color of 3 is said to be yellow, and in astrology the number 3 belongs to the sign of Gemini, or the twins. 4. If you think of 4 as 4 dots, you can show the dots as a square. And that's how the ancient Greeks thought of 4, as a shape with 4 sides and 4 corners. 4 is an even number. It can be separated into 2 equal parts. To the ancient Greeks, justice was a problem that had 2 equal sides. So the Greeks used 4 with its 2 equal parts as a symbol for justice. People of long ago believed that the world was flat, and they spoke of the 4 corners of the earth. And 4 is the number of the directions: north, south, east, and west. The color of 4 is said to be green, and in astrology 4 belongs to the sign of Cancer, the crab. 5. Think of the number 5 as 5 dots that you can arrange in a flat shape that has 5 sides and 5 corners, or angles. A shape of this kind is called a pentagon, a name that means 5 corners. And that's why the ancient Greeks thought of 5 as having the shape of a pentagon. To the Greeks, 5 stood for marriage. For them, 5 was the first number made of both an odd or boy number, 3, and an even or girl number, 2. They didn't think of 3 as being made of an odd 1 and an even 2 as we do. For them, 1 wasn't an odd number. 5 was also thought of as a rather magical number because we have 5 senses: sight, hearing, smell, touch, and taste. The color of 5 is said to be blue, and in astrology the number 5 belongs to the sign of Leo, the lion. That's a good place to stop for now. I hope you found that interesting. Take care, and thanks for visiting.